to tell you a little bit about Oatman first. Now, Oatman is a gold mining camp, not a town. It was never incorporated into the state of Arizona. It only exists out here in these mountains because of gold. Gold mining started out here as early as 1865. The Moss Mine sits about 2 miles down on Silver Creek Wash, just north of here. It was operated from 1865 to 1942. But the gold that actually started the town of Oatman, and the boom of Oatman, yeah, go ahead and keep the road open just in case more traffic shows up. The gold that actually started the town of Oatman and the boom of Oatman, the Oatman mining district, would not be found until 1895, the first time around. In 1895, a man by the name of John Whiteley was following Beale's Trail. Now, Beale's Trail ran from Santa Fe, New Mexico to Los Angeles, California, following the 35th parallel, and was built between 1856 and 1858 by Lieutenant Colonel Beale. Now, when Whiteley was following that trail, he realized there was a quartz vein over the side of the mountain. He went to investigate, realized there was gold in that quartz, so he went back to Kingman and stuck a claim on it. Well, he came back out to work his claim. Somewhere along the line, two other men realized he found something out there, so they followed him out in Kingman to see what it was he found. When they realized what it was and how much of it there was, they all three got in a gunfight over that gold, and when it was all said and done, they were all three killed. Now, 4 years later, in 1899, a man by the name of Jose Jerez was grub-staked by Henry Loving just to get him out of Kingman for a while. Jose had been a colonel in the Mexican military, but by the time he got to Kingman, he was just a heavy drinker and kind of a nuisance, so they grub-staked him just to get him out of town. They sent him out along Beale's Trail and some around the top of Sick Creek Pass, and he was telling the story. He fell asleep and his burro was wandered off from the middle of the night. Most people knew him really well, said he more likely just got drunk, passed out, and forgot to tie him down. But anyway, the next day when he went to go find those burros, they were standing right next to the quartz vein that Whiteley put a claim on 4 years earlier. He went back to Kingman, stuck a claim on it with Henry Loving. They came out and they worked their claim for about 6 months. They got about 1,000 yards in the ground before they realized they didn't have the manpower nor the money to get it up in operation the way it needed to be done. So they turned around and sold the whole thing to United States Steel. For today's money, about $1.5 million. Now Henry Loving went on to be a very prosperous businessman and died a very wealthy man. Jose, on the other hand, he took all his money and went to San Diego, spent it all on whiskey, women, and having a good time. Lasted him a couple of years till he ran out of money, so he came back and got swindled out of a bunch of it. So he came back to the Gold Road Mine and started working as a roustabout about 3 miles up the road at the Gold Road Mine. He would work there for about a year until his alcoholism did him in. In his alcoholic delirium, he decided the reason he was losing all his weight had nothing to do with drinking too much. He thought figured it was just because something crawled down his stomach in the middle of the night, was eating everything he was eating, so he wasn't getting any nourishment. Well, he also figured he ain't solved that problem, so he mixed himself up a rat poison cocktail and drank it down. That had killed the rat, all right, but he also killed himself, and now he's buried 3 miles up the road in the Gold Road Cemetery. And for some reason, his headstone's sitting down here at the Glory Hole. We don't know why that is. Anyway, from 1901 to 1942, Oatman was the most populated place in Mojave County, which by area is the 5th largest county in the United States. Today would be Havasu or Kingman, but back then it was Oatman, with an average population of well over 10,000 people at times. And between 1910 and 1918, there was actually some estimates there may have been as many as 40,000 people out here in the mountains around us, all looking for gold. This was a place to be. But by 1942, after World War II had started, Roosevelt deemed that gold mining wasn't necessary for fighting World War II. He needed the materials to fight the war with rather than gold, so he asked the miners to go mine other things. They did. When they left, they took a lot of the infrastructure of Oatman out in order to fight World War II. Then when the war was over, everybody thought that mining would come back because most geologists, when they left in 1942, believed they had only taken 1/3 of the gold out of these mountains. There's still 2/3 of it still here. And from 1901 to 1942, they took well over $36 million worth of gold out of these mountains, and that was at $10 and $15 an ounce. So there's a lot of gold out here. That was only 1/3 of it. And who knows how much more they really got, how much more they really took out of there. You guys, well, you'll have to cross them. Anyway, but in 1942, all the miners left to go mine the things they needed for fighting the war. And they took a lot of the infrastructure of Oatman out in order to fight World War II. I know, not politically correct, but they are. No spatial awareness in this world anymore. Anyway, but in any case, by 1942, all the miners left to go mine the things. If you'd have driven through this town in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, you would have seen anywhere from 200 to 250 headstands sitting on side of mountains out here, all lowering miners in and hauling ore out. There's about 600 miles worth of tunnel underneath us. There's at least 300 mine shafts that we know of. Some of them are just no more than 20 feet deep. Some of them are as deep as 1,600 feet. But there were 60 different mining companies out here at one time or another, and at times they were all out here at the same time producing gold and producing stuff. But all that was torn down, including 5 stamp mills, when World War II started in order to use those materials to fight World War II. Now the miners left in 1942 and the population went down to about 300 people. Those 300 stuck around, believing the gold mining would come back when the war was over. But by 1951, they realized it wasn't coming back anytime soon, so they put in a bypass from Kingman to Needles going around the backside of these mountains in order to eliminate the windy road. When that happened, more and more people, Oatman died and became a ghost town. Now by 1978 though, Hollywood had come up and filmed a movie in 1955 called Foxfire. Again in 1957 they filmed another movie up here. And then in 1961 they came in and they filmed parts of the movie How the West Was Won. And when they did that, they rebuilt a lot of the buildings in town to where, for the filming of that movie, which allowed people to come in and put businesses back in there. So businesses started coming back to life in the 1960s, but it was only like on the weekends and very rarely. It was not a lot of people. There was nobody coming through here. But in 1978, when I-40 ran over the top of the bypass, everybody started coming back through Oatman, because if you wanted to stay on 66 after that, you were going to have to come the original route through the mountains and through Oatman once again. So Oatman came back to life. Now originally Oatman was called the town of Blue Ridge in 1901. From 1901 to 1909, this was called the town of Blue Ridge, or the Blue Ridge Mining Camp. It would not become open until after 1909, when a book got circulated through the town written by a girl named Olive Oatman, and that's a picture of her up there. When that book got circulated through the town, more and more people started coming through Oatman, and Oatman started to come back to the life you see today. Now, we wouldn't come back to our heyday as a tourist town until after 1987, when they created an organization promoting Route 66, and the small towns had been bypassed by I-40. When that got up and running, more and more people started coming through Oatman, and Oatman started to come back to life. But originally it started out as the town of Blue Ridge, but in 1858, we think the town ought to be called Bentner, because in 1858, the first wagon train to use the newly opened Beale Trail, which actually was partially built by camels, was the Rose Bailey wagon train. With them came a family of 7 called the Bentners. The Bentners, like the Oatmans, got separated from the wagon train they were running with, and they were massacred. The Oatman massacre happened 150 miles south of here. The Bentner massacre happened 2 miles just north of here. So we figured out it'd be Bentner, but it's been open ever since 1909 and still today. All right, so we can get a few people to help us block the road. Dusty, or two has to show you where to stand down here.